Hey everyone, you're with Christine and Ask Your Angels, and today we're doing a show about palmistry, heavenly influences in the palm of your hand, and with me is special guest Frederique Carell.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, thanks for coming. We're excited about this show.
Well, so am I.
What can you tell us about palmistry, or what is palmistry?
Well, palmistry is the study of the hands, not only the palm, the whole hand. The palms, the lines, the mounds, the fingers, the fingernails, and sometimes the back of the hand, including the wrist. So we studied all that. Same way as maybe iridology would study the eyes, or some different kind of study of the ears, or any part of the body, which is basically a little body representing the big body.
Okay, and where did palmistry originate? Like, how long has it been around for?
It originated in India at least 4,000 years ago. So it has been around quite a while.
That's a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, and would you say it's an art or a science or both?
I would say I would start with a science, because it's something that you can reproduce again and again. And of course, like with any skill that you have to use your intuition. I remember somebody said one time, intuition is what comes after 10 years of experience. Because what you do is you learn, and then the way you put things together is actually going to show your experience. So is it an art? Yes. Is it a science? Yes.
Okay, well, thank you. And is it difficult to master palmistry?
Yes. I would say to master it is difficult. But what is great is a little bit like an onion. You know, you peel the onions, and already from the beginning you still can tell quite a few things, even if you don't know too much. Just learning a little bit about the headline or the lifeline, or a little bit about the fingernails, already it gives you some knowledge that you can apply right away. So basic knowledge is very easy to get. Mastery, I am still not there, even after 22 years.
That's a very long time, 22 years. So how did you begin to study palmistry? Like, what's your story?
Oh, what's my story? I guess we all have one.
Everybody has a story.
Yeah, I guess what started it for me is within 3 months of each other, I lost first my father, first my brother, and then my father. And this created a big void in my life, and I wanted to fill it. So in my family, like some people tried astrology or different sciences, different techniques. But I decided to study palmistry, and this gave me actually more knowledge about life, about what it is all about. And I studied, I never stopped.
How difficult would it be for them to study palmistry?
How difficult? I would say the best way is to study with someone who is a palmist. I have tried with many books, and I have to admit some books are good, but they just give you just a little bit of information. And what is important in palmistry is to be able to put everything together. So going with somebody who's a palmist, or what I did, I actually went, at the time it was called the Palmistry Center in Montreal, and this is what they do on a regular basis, and now they have lots of online courses.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah.
So anyone around the world could do that.
Exactly, yeah. And they have it both in English and in French.
That's also good. Now, are there any books that you would recommend that you've looked at, though, for palmistry that could go along with that?
Actually, I'm thinking of 3 books. 2 that are published by the director of this center, whose name is Ghanshyam Singh Birla. One is Love in the Palm of Your Hands, and the other one is Destiny in the Palm of Your Hands. And then there is also a book that was written by one of my colleagues in England, and it's called the spellbinding power of palmistry. I think that's.
That sounds like a good one.
Yes, and I'm just trying to remember his name, and right now it's going above my head. If I remember it later, I'll let you know.
Let me know. Well, we have a blog that we do after every show, and we'll have Frederick's information on that. So.
I remember Johnny Fincham.
There you go, Johnny Fincham. Do you know how to spell Fincham?
Cham. Yeah. You know, it's this little angel that just stopped by, and he just whispered in my ear.
Rooms full of angels.
Exactly. Thank you, guys.
That's why we're Ask Your Angels.
Yes.
When in doubt, what the book's called, Ask Your Angels.
Exactly. They are great. Mine are always great.
So for palmistry, is there a difference between the left hand and the right hand?
Yes. If you are right-handed, your right hand is your active hand, and your left hand is your not
so active hand.
And if you are left-handed, it's the opposite. But what is happening, I'm talking from the point of view of a right-handed person.
Mm-hmm.
Your left hand shows where you come from, and your right hand shows what you have presently.
I have a question that I actually did not ask you about. We've talked earlier, but it's come to mind. Can you read feet? Do they have lots of lines? Is it different?
I have never tried to read feet, and one of the reason is that I work with ink prints. So imagine trying to take
everywhere.
So the first foot is okay, but the second one, then what do you do? But my teacher actually...
You don't go anywhere.
Until somebody cleans your feet. So my teacher actually did try it, and apparently it's very interesting. But
really?
I never tried it. I'm not ready. Maybe my sweetie pie will show me his feet one day, and I can.
We actually have your husband in the studio audience. Would you like to show us your feet, Michael? No? All right, moving along. Which brings me to my next question that I'm sure everybody out there has asked at one time or another. Frederick, you can finally let everyone who's viewing know, does size really matter?
Size really? Okay, so you're talking about hands?
Sure.
Actually,
let's go with that.
In a way, size does matter, because people with small hands are going to react differently as people with big hands.
Really?
I'm going to give you an example. If you look at a picture on a stamp, so you're going to see a whole picture on a stamp.
Like the Queen Elizabeth's head kind of thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you imagine this is a small hand. You see the whole picture at once. Now, if you look at the same picture on a wall, you are more going to look at details.
Oh, that's true.
So if you have small hands, usually you have a tendency to look at the whole picture at once instead of details. And if you have large hands, you have a tendency to look at details. But of course, it has to be in comparison, what is big, what is small compared to your body, compared to your face, and all that. Because a very tall person, very big, may have big hands. They will look big to you, but they may not big for them.
So is the size significant?
In this case,
the shape. Is the shape of the hand?
Shape is very, very important. Yeah, this is actually the first thing that I look at.
Is the shape of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what, like some of the first thing that I would look at, for instance, would be the palm. Is it a square palm? Is it going to be as wide as it is high? Or is it going to be a long palm?
What's mine? Long or short?
A long one. Yeah.
I have a long palm.
And then I will look at the length of the fingers. Are they going to be short? Are they going to be long? So the way to check whether they are short or long, you would compare this finger to the width. So in your case, it's about equal.
Is that good?
There is nothing good or bad. But it really makes a difference if you have a wide hand with short fingers or wide hand with long fingers, or if you have like any combination. Right away, you can actually categorize people.
Okay. Now, of course, we're going to have lots of examples later, so we're going to actually have Frederick show you. But can you explain ahead of time, just so people can familiarize themselves with palm lines? What are palm lines?
Oh, okay. Palm lines is something that you actually look at once you have been looked at the rest first. As I said, the shape of the palm, the different mounts, the fingers, the fingernails. So the lines.
That was another question. What is a mount? Is that this part?
Okay,
Or?
the mount. Oh, this is such a good question because I spent years trying to find out what a mount was and nobody explained it. The mount is basically an area of the hand. It doesn't have to be high or low. Basically, you have one mount here, another one here, another one here, another one here, one in the middle, one here, and one here. So it's just the way you divide your hand in sections.
Oh, okay.
And this is what you call a mount. And then, of course, this mount is very important because it's going to show, like, whether it's your Venus mount or your Moon or your Mars. It's going to show different aspects of your personality.
Okay. So going back to lines, what can you tell us about lines?
So the mounts could be, that's why it's important to look at the mount to see it would be like the kind of soil where things are going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the lines, it's going to be more like the rivers that are going on this soil. And this is why the quality is going to be important. Are they deep? Are they thin? Are they broken? Are they straight? Are they bending? All this is going to have an influence. Now you want to know, I know you want to know about the 3 major lines.
Sure I do.
Okay, so the line that actually circles the ball of the thumb is called the lifeline. And the lifeline shows our energy, the way we apply our physical energy. The one that is at the top of the hand, usually it's curved, not always. This is the heart line, and the heart line shows the way we feel. It shows our emotions. And between our lifeline, physical energy, and our heart line, which is our emotional energy, we have this little rascal in the middle, which is called the headline. And why is it a little rascal? Because it's
the headline?
The headline. It gets us in trouble. It is always our head. You know, our emotions are free, our body, well. And then there is always the mind that gets us in trouble. Is it too much in the body? Are we always thinking about food, about sex, about comfort or anything? Or is it too much in the emotion, and then we just go up and down with our emotions? So the head is really the little rascal that allows us to find the balance between anything physical and anything emotional. So these are the 3 major lines: lifeline, headline, heartline.
So for the heart line, when you're reading it, does it mean anything? Like, do you look left to right or right to left?
Usually, it depends what people are coming from. Most of the time, they want some sense of direction on where they are going. So I would usually look at their active hand. But then I will compare it with the inactive hand.
So for instance, my heart line here is much longer on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And not looking too good on the left. So I'm looking at this, and I'm going to have some fun and pretend I'm palm reading here.
Okay.
It appears that I may have had a heart attack later in life, but I learned to relax, so now my heart line's longer. I'm going to live longer. Yes? No.
you get an A+ on creativity.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll have to go back to studying Palmistry.
Okay.
Okay, because what you did, you talk about your vitality. Vitality is going to be on the lifeline. So when you are asking whether you are going to have a heart attack or you're going to live longer, this is more on this line that you would be looking at. The
this
heart
one here?
Line, yes.
Well, that looks pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah, it does.
Not so good over here. I think I prefer my right hand. Maybe there's a reason I switched from left to right.
Ah, because you're one of these people.
Maybe I was so knowing as a child, this not look too good. I'm going to go with this one.
Actually, there might be a lot of truth in what you are saying. I have some amazing examples tonight of people who have been sometimes forced to change their hands with which they were writing, So usually it's when people ask
that
me,
would
am
be
I
me.
right-handed or left-handed? I ask, which hand are you using to sign your name? Because this is where you put your identity. And sometimes people have had to switch hands for whatever reason, disease or something happened. And very often it's actually a good thing.
Well, I had to switch, and I think we determined it was because I was most likely forced to. It was at a time where they didn't like lefties, and so I had someone come in and try to help me write properly. I had a lot of difficulty with the right hand.
But you know, you're talking about the sort of what I call the outside event. But very often there is a very deep reason, a subconscious. Maybe you were born needing to do, you know, if you have a, let's say you're born with a contract in life, well, your contract was actually to use this hand and not this hand, you know?
That could be.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to get into the fun stuff now.
What is the fun
this
stuff?
has been fun, but we actually, Frederic came out to our home on Saturday, and we had a few people in, and I'm not sure which camera to look at here, but came into our home and showed us the process for palm reading, what she does. So we're going to share that with you, starting with when you start palm reading. Maybe you could tell us, how do you start? Like, what's the first step?
Oh, you mean when somebody comes and see me? Oh, yeah.
Like for me, there was you and I. I think we have a picture of this, and you were going to roll my hand.
Yes,
with
I
ink.
roll your hand.
Roll my hand.
Basically, I take handprints. So I make your hands very black. I roll the ink on your hands, and I take handprints. Why do I do that? For a different reason. First, because I see better on a print. There are lots of things, lots of little lines that actually show a lot better on a print. Also, how much, when the ink is actually put on your hand, how much of it is actually going to show on the print? Like, is it going to stop here? Is it going to stop here? Is it going to be straight here? Or is it going to go all around it? Your fingers, are they going to be spread apart? Are they going to be close? All this is going to tell me something about the reading. So this is the first reason I actually see better. Second reason could be that I don't need to have you beside me. I can take your prints and then study them.
Okay.
And the third reason, which
I thought you wanted me to leave. I wasn't sure.
No, I like you. And the third reason is handprints is like an instant picture. You know, for the physical, to find out how you are doing, you take a photo, and then maybe 5 years later you are going to say, oh yeah, well, I used to have long hair or short hair or whatever. And with handprints, what you do, it takes actually a shot in time about what's happening in your life. And then if you come back and see me a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, I always keep a set of prints, and then we can compare what has been happening in between the two times, because the hands do change. It's Immanuel Kant that said the hand is a visible part of the brain, and it's so true. I see it all the time.
So this is, our viewers can see, this is a photo of Frederic, and she's rolling the ink on my hand. It felt sticky and not so great, but it was fun. It was fun. It's almost like when you're a kid and you're finger painting. We had a really good time with that. So, are we going to see another photo, tech guy? We're going to show the rolling of the ink. Do they need to know what type of ink you use, or what exactly? There we go.
The police ink. The same one as the criminal
fingerprints.
Exactly.
It's very sticky.
It's very sticky. Yeah, I use exactly. Actually, I use the same ink that they sell to the police. So.
Oh, okay. So it's good. And we also have one. Did we show the one with the roller? Oh, and that's Bryce, and he really got into it. He loved it. So we had the left done and the right done. And then that is the pressing of the hand. Now, does it make a difference how you, because I remember when I put my hand down, once I went kind of sideways. Does it make a difference how you
Sideways,
press?
no, it wouldn't. But if you remember, I asked you to relax your hand and to put it
Yes.
in a natural position, and this is very important because some people are going to put their hand like this, some people are going to put it like this, some people are going to have these two fingers together, sometimes these two, sometimes these two, or sometimes all this is going to be open and this one is going to be closed.
And it's all significant.
All this is very significant.
And that's why it's good for them to relax the hand before they do it.
It has to be natural. It has to be you.
And how in depth are the readings that you do?
What do you mean?
In depth, how much information can you get from a palm?
I don't think there is a way to measure exactly how deep. I find for me every reading is going to be different depending on what the person is looking for. Before I see somebody, I just ask for help.
It's like any reading, you're
Exactly.
never sure what's coming.
And whatever, like for different people, sometimes I look at the hand and say, oh, I could have talked about this, I could have talked about that. But whatever happened during the reading was what needed to happen. So one
It's
time,
like any reading, we always say, they find a way to let you know what you need to know.
yeah, exactly.
And it's not always what you want to know, or, you know.
Yeah, usually it's what they are here for.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
a little different with palmistry. Angel readings, it's kind of like whatever comes.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any control. It just, you know.
Yeah, but at the same time, whatever I say it's because in like maybe their angels brought them to me,
Yes.
so that I could tell them one specific thing, and I don't know that. And sometimes the other thing that happens is that I suddenly I get a thought and I tell the person, okay, something just came into my mind and I have no idea where it's coming from, but I think I have to tell you. And I will tell the person, and the person needs to hear that. Usually they let me know that, oh yes, now I understand, or oh thank you, I was really looking for something.
Because there's
like
a
that.
reason they were brought to you. There's
Exactly.
a reason you're both connected to be able to do that.
Yeah, I remember when I first started, I was terrified. I was terrified that people would come and see me and they would ask some very hard question I wouldn't know how to answer. And then a friend of mine told me, no, if they come and see you, it's because they are meant to come and see you.
Their angels brought them, and
Exactly.
their angels are the ones giving you the messages. And
So if you do the reading really like with this in mind, as opposed to am I going to be good or am I going to be powerful, everything goes very well. And usually after a reading, it's as if I was higher. You know, it's as if I'm walking on air at the end of the
Yeah.
reading.
it's funny, it's the same when I do reading. I'm nervous still every time because for me, again, I'm never sure what's coming. It's whatever comes. And the same thought goes through, like, am I going to be able to help them? Is it going to be everything they want to hear? And it always works out because you're just a conduit, you know, and the answers are coming through you from a higher source, and they're getting everything they need. And it is gratifying. Like you're right about feeling like you're on cloud 9 on the way out.
The other thing is sometimes I have the feeling that the person didn't get, like was disappointed or didn't get what they wanted, and then a year later I get a phone call, oh yeah, can I have my hands read again? Well, if they call me back, it's because they got something from it the first time.
And they might not get it at that moment,
Yes.
but it always transpires, right?
Yeah, what I do usually, because I write a lot I take 2 sets of prints, and one set is the one where I keep during the session. So I write, okay, this line, this, and then I tell them, okay, there's way too much information for now. So just take this, put it away, don't look at it for about 2-3 days, and then look at it again, so that it has
They
time
can absorb
to,
it a little more.
Yeah.
That's
because
a great
otherwise
idea.
it's overwhelming. I
Mhm.
find.
So, well, that kind of answers my question. You can get a lot of in-depth information
I
from
know.
a palm reading.
I get a lot out of it, because another thing, and maybe you have this with your angels, anything that I say, I need to hear it. So very often I will give a piece of advice, and as I'm telling you that, and I'm telling you that because I need to hear it too. I need to give
It's an
myself this
affirmation.
advice.
It's nice.
Yeah, or maybe I should listen to what I'm saying too.
That does happen. That does.
Yeah.
You learn a lot, and you can learn. You can use some of the good advice they get and put it in your life as well. That
Exactly.
does happen.
Yep.
So here's a question. A lot of people misconstrue palmistry with fortune telling, and I'm sure you have a message for these people.
Yeah, yeah, I do. And I have to be careful about what I call fortune telling, because people have different definitions, interpretation. What I'm talking about is basically I don't read events. If you ask me, am I going to get married? Am I going to have 3 kids? Is my husband... all that, for me, it's not important. So I don't even want to learn how to do it. So fortune telling, when it is events, I am not interested at all in it. But what I'm interested in, for instance, a person who comes and says, okay, I am at the time of my career, I don't like what I'm doing, what should I be doing now? And then I can really help them. I've also helped quite a few young ladies and men at university, because very often they are doing a certain type of study and I have no idea what they want to be doing. And I look at their hand and I tell them, have you thought of that? And what happens is most of the time they are already on the right path. It's very rare that I tell them you should be doing that and they are in totally different type of study. So already they know intuitively what they should be doing, but it's very reaffirming. Like they feel really good when I tell them, you know, you would be good at, you know, maybe you like traveling, or maybe you should be maybe a philosopher, or maybe you should be teaching, or write a book, or whatever. So this is the kind of thing I can help them with.
And your hand can give you some insight in that direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So that being said, would you say you can give predictions from palmistry?
As I said, you are in control of your destiny, and this is why your hands, they show what you are at a specific time. And depending, if I tell you, okay, like I've had some people come and see me. There was this man who was a financial planner, and his hands showed a lot of creativity. And I'm thinking, how are you using your creativity? He said, well, you know, financial planning, and it was like really, you could tell he was really very square. And I said, why don't you try to do a little bit something more creative? And about 2 years later, he went back to see me, and he said, you know what? I thought about what you told me, and I started to write poetry. And I actually entered one of my poems in a poetry contest. So I don't know whether you won or not, I don't care. But the idea is not the event, it's not what you are going to, the result you're going to get, but it's more, are you using what you have been given? So
because we have a lot of hidden talents.
So prediction, no, I cannot tell prediction, because you can change it completely. You can decide, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stop learning. And then, of course, if I say, oh yeah, I would see you could be the president of your country, but if you decide, no, I'm not.
Free will.
Exactly. There is some free will, yeah.
For those of you who are joining us, you are with the Ask Your Angels talk show, and tonight we're doing palmistry. We have Frederic Harrell with us, and we're going to move along and show a few more examples. Can a palm reading show significant timelines in a person's life?
Significant timelines?
Like if something significant, say, happened in their life up until now, would you see it in their palm?
I probably could see it, but it's something I don't focus on. I have decided there are so many other things that I can focus on. There are a few things that
you
I
can't
don't.
change things that have already happened
Exactly. Exactly, and you can change your future. So I know it is very, like some people are excellent at predicting things, you know, or at seeing what has happened in your life. This is something I've decided not to give any attention to, because I can be so much more useful somewhere else. And the other thing is, you can definitely see health in the hand. But again, this is something I don't want to focus on. I could if I wanted to, but this is not what I have decided that my most important work is going to be.
Well, let's have you focus on a hand now, and
Okay.
we need the LW shot
Oh, the LW shot. Are we going to start with the right or the left?
Let me know if that's the right one.
I think that's
It is. It
that's
is.
the left, isn't it?
It is the left. So,
Or are things backwards?
no, I think
this
we
way.
are. Yeah, this is a left.
That's a lefty.
Okay, it looks a little bit squished, but I guess it's it's okay compared to my. I have the original here. What is very interesting on this palm is that this person, from what I found out, used to be right-handed and had to switch and use her left hand. So what I would like to show, if we could have our tech guy show the right hand and then the left again. Because, oh, this is the left.
It's the left and the left.
It's the left and the left, so we are very lefty. Yes, this is the active hand. This is the hand that this person is using right now. And this is the right hand. Now, what I'm going to show, because I cannot really point there, I'm just going to show which area. If you look here on this area here, you are going to, oops, I am here. And you're going to notice here that there are two headlines. The headlines, you remember the little rascal?
Yes.
This part. So two headlines. And when you have two headlines, you tend to be in two different set of mind. You're going to, you may be, for instance, having one type of personality at work and another one at home. Or you can be, sometimes I knew a case of somebody who was speaking two languages, and depending if she spoke one or the other, she had a different personality in that. One person who is like that is Michael Jackson, two headlines. So it's something a little bit difficult to have.
Mm-hmm.
And also on this print, and actually I should show it on my hand, I think it would be easier. This line, you see, which is the lifeline, you can see that it is a little bit all over the place. Like it's not round and connected. So a person with a lifeline, which is the energy line like this, instead of being very healthy and flowing and really in the body, they tend to be a little bit too much all over the place, and maybe because the line is going on the other side of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we go back to the other hand, I'm going to ask Tech Guy to go back to this hand. You will notice that there is only one headline there, and that the line around the thumb ball, which is the lifeline, is very connected. So these two examples of line, these two features, show that actually her left hand is better than her right hand. So for 33 years of her life, she has been focusing on a hand that was making her life much harder. And since she switched to a left hand, which is actually a lot more positive, she's bringing a lot more of this. So I don't know her enough to find out, but this is the type of person who probably since she started using a left hand is probably getting more out of life than before. Of course.
I'm thinking, what's she thinking right now at home? I think she's definitely headed in that direction, and
Okay.
I think she does strive to be very positive.
Mm-hmm. I believe that when you have to switch hands like that, it's probably because she had something major happen to her.
Yes.
And sometimes, and this is very important to know about the hand, is sometimes you need to be hit on the head many times, and sometimes you need to have disease.
This
you
is
need
a
to
figure
have
of
lots
speech,
of
right?
problems.
I just want to make sure no one's at home, getting hit on. Quick, get over here and hit
And
me.
basically, your hands is the way you are. Your soul is going to evolve. So when you have bad things happening to you, like so-called bad things, it's actually a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
It actually forces you to go deeper into you, to be a better person. So maybe your health is not good, but maybe she's able to reach into resources that she never did. She didn't know that she had before. And to actually become the wonderful person that she needs to be. This is her lifetime of doing beautiful things. So maybe.
And she's a beautiful person, so I'm sure she will.
I believe that she is. So I'm not saying that everything is going to be rosy. I'm just saying that because she's using her left hand, she's able to really tap into this potential a lot more than she was before.
So palmistry can show us our potential,
Oh, yes.
our charisma, things,
Mm-hmm.
inner hidden talents that maybe we're not using to our best ability.
Yeah, exactly.
Can it help you find your soulmate? Everybody wants to, most people want to know that.
Okay, are you asking me, can it help you find your soulmate? Or can it help you make sure that the person you have found can become your soulmate?
Well,
let me give you some examples here.
but I kind of believe that there is an actual soulmate out there who already is a soulmate or isn't a soulmate.
Yeah.
Or can become compatible. But I don't think you can make somebody your soulmate.
No.
I don't.
I guess I'll show you what I can do.
Okay.
As opposed to what you would like me to do, maybe.
Maybe do we want to show a hand here for this?
No, right
Not
now.
yet? Okay.
Not right now. I just want to talk about a specific example. When I started to do palmistry, like a few years after I did palmistry, this is when I left my husband, my first husband, and for a while, every man that I would date or I would have a relationship with, or I thought of having a relationship with, I would take their handprints.
You pull the ink out,
exactly.
you roll them.
And it was almost a condition.
Was this before they took you to dinner? Excuse me, just come in for a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't go tonight.
And it was almost like that. Not like that. I actually had relationships, but I would tell from the beginning that it couldn't work.
Now, when you realized it couldn't work, did you take the time to take the ink off, or are there a lot of disillusioned men walking around right now today with black hands?
No.
Did you leave a trail?
What happened is that I have so high ideals that I kept hoping, and I kept hoping for 6 months, for a year, for 2 years, and then say, shoot, the hands were right. And then something happened in 2000. I met a nice
Michael's
guy.
hands showed up.
I took
Can we get a shot of Michael's hands? No.
No, you're asking. I took his hands just before we went to dinner.
No.
Yes. He arrived.
I think you can tell he's going to turn into that soulmate just by allowing you to do that before dinner.
He came with flowers.
Oh.
And I took his handprints. Then I look at the handprints and I'm thinking, hey, there is potential. For the first time in, 6-7 years, there was potential. And
Can I interrupt for a sec? I know he's off the air, but I'd really like to hear Michael's perspective while this is happening. Nothing, you're very quiet. He's very quiet type. Did you get a feeling of how he was feeling as you're rolling his hand? Did he question it? Did he just go along with it?
I think he didn't know how much I could see at the time. He found out later. I think the way I would do it, it was, let's have fun. I'll take your print. I just like to do that.
And I guess, right off the bat, if they're a wanted felon, they're not going to allow you to do that, right?
Actually, I didn't attract this kind of people, so I was okay. But it was interesting because with Michael, what I did, I wrote a report. I put myself out of it and I decided, okay, there's this person, this female and this male. How would they get along together? And I wrote a report and then I put it away. 3 months later, Michael moved in with me. And a year later, I found the report. And I looked at it and it was exactly our relationship. All the problems I had identified, they were there, and the one that was saying, okay, there won't be any problem there, and it was done. So it was it really proved to me that that palmistry actually works for relationships.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so this is throwing me off. We were going to show some photos at this point, but we've kind of lost our tech guy.
This is all about home shows.
Yeah, the home show. That was
But it's
really...
okay. I'm sure the viewers.
We have great
understand.
viewers, so please excuse that our tech guy was
Where are we at?
missing in action. We would like to see. How about we'll show CP? That's.
I thought it was maybe if you want CP. Yep.
I think that's tech guy. CP and tech guy. Let's see those prints.
Let's start with CP. Okay.
CP. That would be me. We don't have a camera image over here. Here we go.
Okay.
So that's me?
Oh, if it's you, I have to be careful what I'm
No,
saying.
go ahead. My life's an open book. Seriously.
Are you sure?
Just don't tell them about their pornography and we'll be okay.
Oh, this was actually the first thing I was going to talk
No,
about.
you were not. So not true.
Okay, so as you were saying a little bit earlier, you are one of these people who have had to switch hands.
Yes.
And we're going to see why again. Because we can see it on this line, and I'm going to show it on my hand again. Actually, this is the hand. You see the two lines. We have the lifeline here, which shows the energy, and we have the headline. And if you look at this picture, you are going to see that there is a gap between the two. Do you see the gap on this picture?
Yes.
Picture? Okay. Now the gap. It means that the person is very freedom loving and they will do their own things, you know. Now if we look at the right, so this was the left hand, let's look at the right hand. Can we have the other tech guy show the other hand? Yes. Now if you look at these two lines again, now we see that at the beginning they are stuck together, and this makes the person a lot more sensitive and a lot more in touch with family and family values. So
That's the right hand.
this is the right hand. This is the
Okay.
one that you had to switch to.
Mm-hmm.
And like in my case, for me, it was it's stuck for a long time. This means that I was extremely shy. I never did anything on my own. Everything had to be through my parents. In your case, you are a little bit more like independent, I would say, because your left hand was very independent.
Mm-hmm.
But again, let's go back to the previous print. So left hand, yes, and we're going to see again this. You can check actually on your own hands the lifeline, and you can see that the lifeline is actually cut. You see here?
I do see that. That's
Yeah.
why I said I think I like the right one
Exactly.
better.
And on your right hand, so again, tech guy, if you can show the right hand. And we see the actually we don't see it very well because I pressed a lot.
Yes.
But it is actually very, trust me, it is actually very round. Now, I think at one time you asked me about, or maybe this is something you were planning to ask about, the short lifeline and a long lifeline. Maybe I could talk about
Mm-hmm.
Compatibility, because this is a question I get all the time. Oh, my lifeline, I have a break in my lifeline. Oh, it's so short, am I going to die? And people are very worried about that.
Well, this one is, but the right isn't.
Exactly. And some you have to see also.
Is this like free will? See, this is where you said I would fail at palmistry, because I was like, okay, so somewhere in there I was going to have a heart attack or something because there's a break. So I have decided that that is not going to happen, and I've changed my pattern.
Maybe. What it is like? You have
and
to
then
check.
all of a sudden,
Not during the show.
there'd be some
okay?
irony there. Okay, hopefully
Okay,
not.
what is important is to look at both lines. So we have seen both of your line, and we have seen that on the left hand we have a break, and on the right hand there is no break. So already it tells you don't have to worry. Now the break doesn't mean that you are going to die or have a big accident. It is the way you apply your energy. So if there is a break, for instance, I'm going to give you the typical example. an athlete, somebody who's been using his body his whole life. And then at the age of maybe 40, 50, he stops being a sports person, and then he becomes a coach. So he's using his body a lot less. So you're going to see the break, and you are going to see the line continuing. But it's going to be a different line, because it's not going to be the vitality of an athlete. It's going to be more the vitality of a leader, maybe.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm so sorry. We have
No
a
problem.
question.
Just a question online that kind of applies to what you're talking about, because somebody posed a question online. Several people have had hand transplants. Now, what are the implications for this?
Ooh.
Seriously, they've had hand transplants? I've never heard of this.
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
And
That's a great question.
What is it? I've heard actually of some people having hand transplant and hated it. They hated it. And I believe they hated it so much is because their hand was not in tune with their brain. Because basically your left hand is in tune with your right brain, and your right hand is in tune with your left brain. So if you have had a hand transplant,
I'm sure they'll be able to do that one day.
for a while there is probably it's as if like they are not in tune with each other. I have to admit I've never taken the handprints of somebody who've had a hand transplant, even though I would love to. So come and see me if you
If
can.
any of our viewers have had a hand transplant,
Yeah, I would
contact
love-
Frederique.
I would love to see it, but I would think that there would be a certain time for the lines to change and to adapt to the brain, and probably the hands would be like when they first had surgery would be a certain way, and I am sure unless they found someone who was exactly like that, which is kind of rare, but the hands over time would change.
Because they do, and that was going to be one of my questions.
Exactly.
Is that, do they change? We have another question.
Another question, good.
someone online has asked, can your lifeline determine how long you will live?
Okay. This
Well,
is-
we were talking about
we
that.
were just talking about that, and I didn't have time to finish. So thank you so much for your question. No, it's not going to tell you how long you are going to live, because even if it stops, as I mentioned, if there is a break, it continues. The other thing, even if the line doesn't continue, a lot of the time there is a line that goes to the center of your hand. This is called the destiny
here?
line. Yes. And the destiny line...
Mine has a fork in the road.
Okay. We'll have to talk about that later on. Whether it is really the destiny line or it's another line. But this line usually, if it starts at the bottom of your hand and your lifeline has stopped, it is taking over. So because it is taking over, it doesn't, there is no way that because your line stops, it means you are going to die. It just means that something, and it's very rare that you don't have some kind of line in this area. And again, this is something I don't focus on, because I've heard, I remember one story, terrible story that I heard. I'm going to talk about it because I think it's very representative.
Okay.
One time I looked at this person's hand, I took his prints, and this man, at the time I was reading the hand, I had the wife, the mother, everybody was looking and wondering what I was going to say. I have to say at the time he was about 35. And they say, can you see something on the headline? Can you see something, on the lifeline? And I couldn't see anything. It was actually a good one. There was not even a break. What happened to this man? When he was 18, he went to see a fortune teller. She was a palmist, but really fortune teller. And she told him that at the age of 28, he was going to die. Now you remember, this guy was 35 when I look at his hand. I have no idea where she saw that. And maybe she saw something. But what happened? Between 18 and 28, he thought he was going to die. So
Horrible.
he decided not to do anything with his life. So what did he do? He started to do drugs and sell drugs, and until at the age of 28, he was in jail. So he spent his whole 28th year in jail. It was a symbolic death. It was not a real death. So she had seen something, but you're never going to tell a person you are going to die at a certain age. Because in this case,
and you never
maybe he could have used these 10 years to do, like, if he had come and see me, and let's say I identify something, a problem, but as I said, this is one of the reasons why I don't want to focus on. So what I would say, I would tell this person, you know, for the next 10 years, this is why you have to focus the most, because it might be too late later on to focus. So make sure you go to school, make sure you study, make sure, and maybe his life would have been different. So this is why when you talk about fortune telling, this is why I don't talk about events. I talk about what can you do with your life so that you have the best life possible. How can you use the talent?
If everyone just lives every day like it's their last anyway and gets the most out of their life, that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't help to even know.
Exactly.
Why are we so focused on the when? You know?
Just for your life insurance.
Well,
when you it is.
So can we see the hands again? Are we... Can you tell us, can you tell from Tech Guy's hands and my hands, are we compatible? Are we soulmates?
Oh, this is good. I love the word compatible. There is no compatibility.
And just forget all about that fighting before we started the show.
Okay.
No, we're just kidding.
We just, right now we are looking at your hands, and I guess we're going to look at Tech Guy's hands now. Are we going to see them? Because I want to show something. Okay, if you look at these hands, you're going to notice, and you remember at the beginning I was telling you about the general shape of the hand. If you look at his hands are very wide, as opposed to your hands that are very long. Now, having long hands, usually you are much more interested in the thinking process, the inner process, the way things are working inside. When you have wide hands, you are more the active type. You make things happen. So when I see these hands, and I see your hands, the long one, you are the one with the show, with the ideas, getting people to speak with you. And then behind the scene, we have Tech Guys who is doing all kinds of things on his computer, is making it happen. This is what the wide hand is all about. So this is one thing that I would be able to see between you. I would have to go into a lot more details about what's happening in the hands. Let's see. For instance, you remember we looked at your left hand, right hand, and we talked about the lifeline. If we look at his hands, both hands have really good lifelines. So one way.
So we'll be doing our show for a long time. I was worried about that. Yay.
If you die, you will continue.
Oh, sure, you will.
Yeah, but I would say because he has this vitality, this could be something that you can use. So because, as I said, compatibility is very hard. It's what can you do together? Like if the hands are too different, it might be difficult. And a lot of time I would see, like for instance, the texture of the hand. It's a little bit difficult to see here. But your texture of the hand is the way, like, how dark the print is more or less the same. And in the case of Michael and I, we have more or less the same texture, which is the first thing I said, okay, we should get along. But my hands, for instance, tend to be very fine. And I used to attract people with very coarse texture. This is very hard to live with a person like that. For him, it was hard to live with me. For me, it was hard to live with him. So there are all kinds of different things. And again, so I talk about the lifeline. You both, now actually for the headline, this headline is more idealistic than you are. And you were asking me about, can we go back to the right hand?
Idealistic as in more...
I'm going to show you.
I'm more the romantic, and he's more the.
It's not really romance.
No.
So I would like to go back to.
I mean life in general. I don't mean romance, love. I mean life in general.
Right hand, your right hand. You see his line. Okay, we're getting there. Next hand. Okay. You see how your line is very straight, This makes you very intense. You love, you love, you love. He's more
Go with the flow kind
go
of?
with the flow.
Yes.
And what's happening, and be careful with that. And I know he's listening too. Do you see this kind of hand happens a lot in therapists, in people who help others? Because you want to help, you're full of love for all your clients, for everybody. You want to help, help, help. That's why you're so intense. You want to give, 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 give. You have a hard time taking.
I do.
And what's happening is that because it's so important for you to give, sometimes you don't give enough to your own relationship. So make sure.
What do you think, tech guy? Should I come over there and give you a little for the? No, maybe not. Later.
Afterwards. Okay. I'll make sure she does a little. But this is the intensity.
Yes.
Your intensity. As I said, it's
and
very.
it's funny. I was just thinking that actually today, because it's been, we're trying to get the videos up as fast as we can for you guys, and we've got a lot of editing issues, and there's a lot of behind the scenes, and it's all about the show, and it's all about getting this knowledge out to people as quickly as we can so they can share it with other people.
Yep.
And it's kind of consuming
our
relationship right now.
Exactly.
So
and it's
I
taxing
understand
your
that
system too.
completely.
Yeah.
But as soon as the videos are all up to date, we'll go for dinner.
And then there will be more videos. Remember, it's a little straight. We have to make sure we make it nice and round, because we can change hands. We can change the way our lines are.
And speaking of lines, you had talked to me about on my hand, because I loved this, the Angelic strip landing.
Oh yes.
Can we show that again or talk about that a little bit?
We can talk about it.
I'm just gonna interrupt though. For those of you who have just joined us, you're with the Ask Your Angels talk show. Please look for us on Facebook. We would love you to join our group. And tonight I'm with Frederique Harrell, and we're talking about palmistry, which you may have guessed by the palm at the top of the screen there. So can we go back to my palm? We'll show the what's it called, landing strip or heavenly?
You can call it the landing strip of the angels.
I love that.
Yes, it's
The
funny. I was
landing
reading
strip of the
again about
angels.
it. This is the part which is between your. It's good. We're seeing a big one. Between your heart line and your head line. So it's making actually a rectangle. And the shape of this rectangle is going to say a lot about what is happening between your mind and your emotions. Imagine it's just like two magnets when the two poles are too close or too far apart. And it's the tension. You need to have some tension between the right and the left. No, between the headline, the heart line and the headline. Some tension. When they are too small, usually it makes you very tense inside. And when they are too far apart, you are so aloof, you don't care about things. So it's always, you always want to have this good, and then the best is actually having both lines slightly rounded. And this, we call it, my teacher calls it the landing strip of the angel, because this is how you can actually use your intuition. Your intuition will come from your mind and from your emotions. But if you are too emotional, you don't have time. You are too tense to actually let the intuition flow. And if your mind is actually going, oh, I want this, I want that, again, the intuition cannot flow. So it's always the way these two lines are with each other is going to facilitate the angel so that they can come at night and they can land there.
It's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. I love that. I love it. You had mentioned something about Venus.
The Mount of Venus. Oh, the girdle of Venus.
The girdle of Venus.
Oh, and you have one. I want, actually, you know what? You are the family. I notice you are the family with the girdle of Venus.
Family?
Family. You,
Tech
your
guy?
husband, and
My son?
your son,
All
you
have it?
all have a girdle of Venus. So I
Wow.
want to, the best one we have is actually on the left hand, on your left hand. So if we could have Christine's left hand again. No, this is not Christine.
I hope not. So,
That's the one. So the I don't have one, so I cannot really show mine. But this is actually the half circle that is under these two fingers, and you can see on the print. No, actually, it would be.
I see it. Yeah.
You can see on the prints. And this is like the girdle of Venus is something beautiful to have. And you know what is interesting is that I've been doing a lot of reading, and a lot of people say it's negative. And I'm going to explain why it is. They think it's negative, and I don't think so at all. I think it's beautiful, it's positive, and I'm so
How
glad.
can Venus be negative? It's so pretty.
It's just because a lot of the time these lines are not as connected as they should be. Now, what the girdle of Venus does, it gives you creative sensitivity, and the two words are very important. You have to be sensitive in order to bring that sensitivity into creation. And this is where the sensitivity can be a problem, because if you are overly sensitive, then you cannot do anything with it. So when there are lots of broken little pieces, you have the ability of the sensitivity, but you don't have the creativity. The example I was giving you actually was the example of this man who was a musician, and he decided to go on a stroll, and he is in a forest, and suddenly he sees this beautiful sunset. And of course, you know, this the kind of sunset that brings all these wonderful feelings into you. And he sees that, and he says, "Oh, this is too beautiful. I have to express that." So he goes back home, sits at his piano, and he composes a symphony. And later on, when everybody who listens to his symphony is going to have the same feelings as he did when he was watching the sunset. So that's why it's so beautiful to have a connected girdle of Venus. Sensitivity, because you have to be able to reach into the heart of everybody. If you are not able to reach into the heart, you cannot connect with them. That's why my teacher used to say, when people ask what's the best way to develop a girdle of Venus, and he would say excruciating pain. Why? Because once you feel the pain, then you can connect. You can feel the pain of others. But the idea is actually to get out of your pain, to turn it into creativity.
And use what you've learned from that pain
Exactly.
to help others.
And
That
to
makes
help
total
others.
sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's always help. Like I find everything I'm learning about palmistry is you are your own little world, and you tend to think of yourself. But what you need to do is actually to connect with everybody. And from the moment you connect, then your success goes up, your creativity goes up, your happiness goes up. It's really amazing.
I believe that too. Can we see TB's palm print?
TB.
I should tell our viewers we've been trying to keep our shows to an hour and a half, but I think in light of all the information we'd like to share tonight, we are going to go a little bit later. So this is TB's handprint. Is that the...
Yes.
That's the right?
This is the right, and we have...
Would that be the right? I can't...
Yeah, this is the right. Yeah. There is a left too. How many prints do we have? Do we have the photo? There was a photo with it, which was this photo. I could actually show it.
Oh, no.
No, we don't have the photo.
You'll have to show
Here.
that one.
Okay,
I missed that one. I'm sorry.
I want first to talk a little bit about this hand, because this. I'm going to read it. This is a really beautiful hand. I know this person didn't feel good about herself, but she has actually a very smart hand. She has, you remember I was talking about the landing strip, and this is a beautiful landing strip, because you have the two lines very round. This one is round, the other one is round. So you have the heart and the mind working together, which makes her very intuitive, very intelligent. She also has very beautiful lifeline. So she's very much connected. She's beautiful hands, nice texture, And she also has a very nice line, which is, I haven't talked about it, but I'm going to show it, and you'll see it on the hand. It's a line that actually crosses. It crosses the hand this way, and it's called a Mercury line, and it's a line of self-expression. So it could be through communication, it could be through research, it could be through creating something. It's taking the energy of your lifeline, which is, this is where it starts, and it goes all the way up to the little finger. So it's bringing this energy to the world. So she has these lines. Now, beautiful hands, beautiful fingers, everything is beautiful, but I can see two problems, and that probably would keep it. The first one, I have made a bigger, I don't know if it's going to show. This is one part of the hand. You see, it's actually this part of the hand, and you can see that there is a whirlpool. Yes, we can see it now. There is a whirlpool. You see this whirlpool?
Yes.
Here. Now the whirlpool, this
You
is
mean her world spinning?
actually
Out of control
her world
a
is
little bit?
spinning. What happened, it's something she was born with, so it's not right now. When you have anything that is with all these little ridges everywhere, it's called dermatoglyphics, and this is, when they look at your fingerprints, this is what they look at. Dermatoglyphics don't change. This is the thing that doesn't change. The lines change everywhere, but not these little ridges. So she was born with that. And you see there's a tendency to actually go into this whirlpool. So she tends to be a little bit lost in her own world, and a lot of the time what happens, they make mountains out of molehills, and then sometimes it grows into mountains, because when you put energy on something negative, then it grows. There is another thing that she has on her hands, and this one I really, really want to talk about it. And there is this print here, and I don't know if you can see the little fingers. Okay, how am I going to put this one? Okay, the little finger, which is here, the fingernail is all chewed up. And I really, really thank her so much for giving me this print, because it's I know it's actually hard to show that, because I know she doesn't like seeing that.
She's laughing right now.
She's
wherever
laughing.
she is. I know it.
But I thank you so much.
I can just feel her laughing.
I thank you so much for showing this. Fingernails. Let's talk about fingernails now, because this is a typical example. We have a whole nervous system. So in our head, it's protected by our skull, and then of course it goes through our whole body, and it goes to the end of our hands, and then at the end of our fingers, we're extremely sensitive. That's why we're able to feel something that is soft, or to push something, or to actually grab. Like, it's amazing what the hands can do, the sensitivity. So you imagine, in order to have this amount of sensitivity, it means that there are lots of nerve endings there. Now, nature did things very well. They protected our brain with our skull, and they protected our finger ending, our nerve endings, with fingernails. So the fingernails are there to protect you
until we chew them off.
Until you chew them. And it's interesting, because I know I hear that people are biting their nails.
Out of nervousness,
they
usually.
say, out of nervousness, I am biting my nail. No. Once you bite your nail, you become more nervous.
Ah, well, it's kind of like an addiction.
Exactly. But the thing is, my teacher says, when you bite your nail, it's as if you are biting your skull. It's as if you are opening your nervous system to everything. So when you are biting your nails the way this lady is doing it, even though I told you she has these beautiful hands,
A lot of anxiety.
She has this like these lines. She doesn't give a chance for her hands to actually express itself, because the nervous system is really frazzled. So when I was talking to her, she's told me that she used to do this on all of her fingernails. And when I took her handprints, only 3 fingernails were actually still suffering from it. And I really want to encourage her to stop doing it altogether, and to see the changes that are going to happen. Like I've seen it around me when I see people with that are biting their nails. I said, first thing you do, you stop biting your nails, then we'll take your prints again. And it's amazing how many changes, because you imagine if your skull was open all the time, it would be hard to focus on your work or to focus on your love life or to focus on anything else, because you'll be constantly fighting with your nervous system. So you have to protect it. And if you notice, this is always interesting, if you look at people's hands and look at, it happens usually more in men than in women, but I've seen women too. And when you see broad and not long, but really broad, because I'm not talking about how long your finger is, it's just the pink part. Mm-hmm. When you see people with very broad and like very square fingernails, usually look at them, they're usually very cool. They don't they don't
Nothing
get upset.
phases them.
Exactly. And I've seen it again and again and again.
Now, this has nothing to do with palm reading, but I'm allowed one of these a day, so this person who bites her nails should quit smoking too, right? I had to. Okay.
Okay. We're talking about hands here.
Okay.
I am not going to say anything about smoking, but you should quit.
Okay. Okay.
Tanya says enough.
Okay, so you're not supposed to say names, honey. So let's show BP's prints, which we know is actually my son. So we'll have a look at those. He also bites his fingernails, right? Like the nails, the skin, and it doesn't matter what I tell him, he still does it.
Okay. So let's look at his hands. There's a copy somewhere. Oh yeah, well, we see his hand. What I would have liked to do, if you still remember your hands, the way they are, you see that the length of the palm compared to your hands and compared to tech guy's hands. You see he has these long palms. So he took this from you.
Yay.
So I would say he's more into the inner processes too. And another thing is, it's a little bit hard to see, but most of his lines, maybe we could look at his right hand. Can we have his right hand? Because what's happening is hands also show your stress level. And when I looked at his lines and his hands, and especially his right hand, so I'm hoping to see his right hand soon, you're going to...
Hint.
He's thinking.
Gotta get there.
He's the
There
active
you
guy.
go.
Okay. So I don't know how close you can see that on your screen, but you can see that all the lines are a little bit... yes. You see how they're a little bit doubles everywhere. They look a little bit like striated, or they're not continuous. I was telling you about the quality of the hands, of the lines being very thin and very continuous. In those hands, you see they are all a little bit frazzled. And you can also see in the whole area of the hand, there are all kinds of tiny lines everywhere. So these lines are not the major lines, or are not even like the destiny line or the Mercury line. They are just lines, and usually they show stress.
He is very stressed, little boy.
I would say that it is normal for his age. He's a teenager.
Yeah, it's those preteen.
Yeah,
I was the same at the age 11, 10. It was the worst time.
Yeah. Another thing,
a lot of changes at school, and
another thing, if you, I'm going to put it like this. You see this area. You see a big open part here. Like when we put the print, you notice that when I always press the same way on everybody. So if something doesn't show
painfully
on you, maybe it was painful, not on me. But the fact that there is this big gap here is showing a gap. This is the energy is using to deal with negative things in his life. You know, I always say red lights, like when you're stuck at a red light, when your parents are mistreating you, when you have to pay taxes, when you're stuck, like, you know, how do you react to it? And there are two ways to react. There is one way where you just want to punch everybody.
That would be his brother.
But not him. Not
Not
him.
him, no.
And when there is a big gap, it's more like,
He holds it all inside.
Exactly.
He does.
And you can tell just because of this big gap. The gap always, and Isham, I want to tell the person, okay, breathe, that's okay. This part of the way I explain this part of the hand is like a bumper. You know, the bumper is protecting your car.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there when things happen to you. That's okay. It's protecting you. Now imagine if the bumper of the car starts to go after the other car and say, "You idiot! How did you do that to me?" Or if the bumper says, "Oh no, I am such a victim. How could you do that to me?" So you wouldn't necessarily express it.
You'd
but
be
this
the
is
second
way.
bumper.
Exactly. And when you see, instead of the gap that you see here, if you see a bump really round, there you can see there is more frustration, or there is more, like if the bump is really coming out, then the person can be a little bit physical, violent. A lot of the time you will see even on a different one that I took, there are little bumps. It's frustration. So it doesn't mean you are going to actually hit anybody around you, but it means it's the garbage that you keep inside and go, and it stays. You have to let it go.
Wow, he has a little brother with autism, so it's quite a challenging life for him,
yes.
and that's the stem of most of it. But
yeah, and as I said, at this age, almost every print that I take of children, it depends. Sometimes they're very emotional, very tense. Sometimes they're okay, but usually from like 10 to 18, almost all the time, they are very stressed.
It's a hard age. I
Yeah.
didn't like that age. Well, actually, 17 it got better, but I know it's just such a hard age.
We would like to know.
That's another story for another show.
Okay.
Can palmistry help us track our mental progress?
Oh yes, this is, when I was telling you about you take handprints at a certain time, and then maybe another 3 months later, or maybe a year later, or 2 years later, is going to give you a picture of another time. So, and this is something that I find always amazing. I wish more therapists were actually using palmistry, because you start a therapy program on somebody, whether it's support groups, whether it's whatever, taking drugs, and then you just have to rely on what the person says or whatever. But if you have the hands, right away you can tell whether there is a change or not.
And if they're making progress.
Exactly. And sometimes, what I find when I see hands is people are not aware of the progress. And then I identify, I say, look, this line is longer, this one disappeared, you're doing great. And the person was not even aware, because it's all subconscious. So when they come and I tell them that something is happening, they leave and they are so happy because they realize something has been happening. So yes, it's good. It's very good as a diagnosis tool and as a way to chart the progress.
So why don't more practitioners know about this then?
Well, a lot. When you're
Or
talking
they
about
do, when
you're talking about practitioners,
like a psychologist, psychiatrist, why
There is
they
always-
use ink spots? Why wouldn't they
there is
use
always
this?
the stigma of fortune telling.
Oh.
This is what I have been trying to fight for years, and it's very, very hard, because a lot of people, just when I say I read hands, or right away it's okay, am I going to get married? So of course, and there is always the idea, I'm going to tell you something, and give me more money so I can tell you more, because I know some fortune tellers do that.
Oh, I know.
So it's very hard to
It makes
change
it hard
that.
for the ones that are
Exactly.
legit, which was another question I had. How, if someone wants to go find a palmist, what techniques can you share with them for trying to find a legit palmistry person?
I guess you will have to trust the person.
Are there
Nowadays-
signs, like, is there any kind of signs or questions you should ask?
Right now I'm not thinking, because I think you have to trust the person, get a feel for the person. I go to website, like if I am interested in some kind of therapy, I go to the website and I see how the person appears.
Mhm.
So by the way, if you want to go to my website, you will see all about my the way I.
You should tell them, what is your website?
My website is www.palm-reading. So palmreading.org.
That's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah.
So
And-
what did you think of my website before you came on the show?
Okay. Well, you know what? You on the Ask the Angel, the talk show, you put Raymond Moody. When I saw that, I said, "Wow! If she's actually interviewing Raymond Moody, I might as well go for it." If this is
He's
the
the
kind,
sweetest man too. That was the
I was
highlight
very
for
very
me.
impressed.
I loved him. He's just a darling.
Yes.
We're around 10 o'clock, so let's move along. Jason's prints.
Oh yes, Jason.
Can we look at those?
This is the before
And
and
this
after.
is the, right, which is what we were just talking about.
Okay, I'm going to follow with my print here.
Here we go.
Yeah, so Jason is an interesting interesting case, because you can see I have actually identified a few lines. I've identified, of course, the hotline and the headline, just for you to see what they are. And on the after print, there are a few lines that have appeared. And if you see at the bottom of on the right side, you are going to see the Mercury line. And if you compare the Mercury line on the right print as opposed to the left print, you see that it has actually appeared. There was no Mercury line before.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with what I call the love of truth line. Love of truth line being whatever line is actually on the just under your middle finger. It's your destiny line, crossing the hotline and going all the way
Yes.
to the love of truth line. And these, for me, it's amazing. I think between these two prints, there were about 2 years. And I'm just going to focus on these two changes because I find they are so interesting. As I mentioned, the Mercury line is a line of self-expression. This is the one that allows you to take what you have inside and express it to the world. Now, on the on the before print, this person used to be very quiet. He never talked. Nobody knew what was happening inside of him. On the second, at the time of second print, he was talking. He was really expressing himself. And the love of truth line is a beautiful line, and it's basically your destiny line. People call it destiny line. I like to call it more the determination line. This is the one that allows you to have goals in your life. And when it goes all the way up, and especially when it crosses the hotline and it goes even higher than the hotline, it means that your goals are actually based on the spiritual. So you are not, if the line stops at the headline, everything is based on your head. You know, sometimes maybe it's money, maybe it's like more material. If it goes up and it stops at the hotline, usually you are a little bit more open, but it's still based on emotions, so it can go up and down. But when it crosses, it means it's as if you have a rope. God is holding the rope, and you are holding yourself to the rope. So you know that you can only go up.
Is that this line here?
It is this line, exactly. You have a love of truth line.
So it's
line.
crossing over.
Yeah. Now what
And
happened?
crossing over.
Yes, but it's
In a good way.
It's a good it's a good crossing. Now what happened to this person? This person was in the before print. He was doing a little bit of marijuana, a little bit of coke. I'm not talking about Coca-Cola. Smoking a lot and sort of living in his own little world. On the second print, in between the first print and the second print, what happened is a school of martial arts opened in his city, and he decided to join. So he joined, and he really followed what they were doing. So martial arts is not only the physical thing. He was doing a lot of meditation. He was really in touch with himself. And look what happened on those sprints. Self-expression, coming out of his shell, so to actually express himself to the world, and then love of truth line. And this is only 2 lines. I didn't talk about the rest, but the love of truth line, like growing, these lines were not there before. And they actually grew. So they grew because he did something to better his life. To actually be, as I said, more in touch with himself, and once you're more in touch with yourself, you're more in touch with the whole world.
So
because we're all connected.
It can increase your perception, your intuition.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have, I think we're going to look at some celebrity ones now.
Oh, yes. Which one do we have first?
Would you say palmistry for celebrities is more insightful than the tabloids?
I hope so. I actually love doing celebrities. If you go to my website, palmreading.org, you will see I have about 20 different people. Like we're going to see
Palm reading. That's with a hyphen.
Yes, palmreading.org, and I'm trying to do like 2 weeks ago I did Whitney Houston. I did. What's his name? I guess I am the man of the iPad who just died.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Not
Bill Gates. No, the other one.
Bill Gates.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Bill. We didn't
Steve
think you
Jobs.
died.
Steve Jobs. I did Steve Jobs. Actually, I did a comparison between Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. And I did the Beatles. I
Bill
did
Gates.
Celine Dion. I did
Did you do Davy Jones?
Nope.
I love Davy Jones. Okay, so Gandhi, can we see?
we're going to start with Gandhi.
Is it Gandhi or Gandhi?
I have no idea. I would say it in the French we say Gandhi.
Gandhi.
Okay, Gandhi. I would like to see the other print of Gandhi, which is where we see a little bit. This is the one. What is really interesting on this print is that you see his index finger is very short, and is
Very narrow, his hand.
uh,
Isn't it
not
very long and narrow?
Not very long. No, it's more square.
No, I mean, it doesn't look very wide. It's very...
It's because it's very deep inside.
You look at it and almost think he's missing a finger at first glance.
Yeah, maybe. But what I want to focus on the fact that his index finger is very short, really much shorter than it should be, as opposed to his ring finger, which is much longer than it should be.
Isn't that short?
Usually these two fingers should be more or less the same size. And if one is longer or shorter, it's going to tell a lot about your personality. In the
I know we're all holding up our hands. I
Yes.
think my index, isn't it short?
no, actually, it depends
I'm
how
looking
you
at the wrong thing.
if you're holding.
That's not your
I-
index.
No, this one and this one.
Oh.
Well,
Right,
I
they're
repeat,
the same.
the ring finger and the index finger, the two fingers that are on each side of your taller finger.
Okay.
Okay, and so I'm going back to
Gandhi, sorry.
and you can see his finger is very short. Now this finger,
Yes.
this finger shows basically your role in society. It shows your ambition, among other things. It shows your role. It shows how you want to appear in society. And we're going to see Princess Diana will be the exact opposite. But in the case of Gandhi, Gandhi was a person who just did things that he felt were right. And at the time where he was just wearing just a bottom part, like he was not wearing anything, no suit or anything. One time he was invited by the governor of India. I think it was at the time where England was still very, very powerful there. And he was invited, and they asked him to wear a tuxedo. And Gandhi said...
I can't picture Gandhi in a tuxedo.
Exactly. So what he did, he took the tuxedo and he sent it instead of him And he said, if you're really
I heard this story before.
if you're interested in the tuxedo more than you are in me, you might as well have the tuxedo.
I love that story.
This is totally related to this finger, because this is a place in society. This is the way you follow the rules of society. He was not following the rules at all. And this story shows that only him could do that well. Maybe like anybody would have. He has a very, very long finger, so this means that the shining and sharing was very important to him. But society didn't have, like, it was not important to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
it's
why.
funny the perspective, because if you thought of the average person as doing that, you would think, how rude.
Mhm.
But when you hear that Gandhi did it, you get it. And
Yeah.
you're like, wow, you're impressed.
Yeah, you're
it's
impressed,
a totally
exactly.
different perspective.
It's a different
because you
perspective.
know the kind of man he was and what that really signified.
Exactly, and he wanted to really make a point.
Mm-hmm.
It-
And he
it-
certainly did. I'm sure.
He didn't do it out of pride.
No.
He did it to show, okay, make sure that you look at people. Don't look
Yes.
at the way they are dressed.
Yes.
And as I said, with the short finger, he was able to do it because he didn't have the long finger that would say, you have to follow the rules. So who else do we have?
Oh boy, we have the Dalai Lama.
Oh, we have the Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama, I was lucky enough to have a print. So I hope, so this is the hand of the Dalai Lama, and then it should be the print of the Dalai Lama. Yes, here it is. So I'm just going to focus on one specific line there, which is the headline. And the headline, as I mentioned, is the one that can get you in trouble. And as you can see on this print, it is very curved, and it goes all the way. Oops, where is my hand here? And it goes all the way down, very curved all the way down. Now, what is it interesting? It's because it is in the Dalai Lama, a little bit of like what you were saying about Gandhi, that because you're Gandhi, it made a point. In the case of Dalai Lama, this really curved headline is actually good, but it may not be good for everybody. What's happening is this part of the hand shows your perception of life. It's usually what is happening deep down in your thinking. When your head is going all the way down, usually you don't care too much about life. You're not really interested about your material life, about how to accomplish things or whatever. So sometimes you can just get lost into your own dreams, and you are not in touch with things. But when you are the Dalai Lama, or when you are a monk, or when you are any type of renunciant, you need to have a line like that, because you need to actually go into the world of meditation.
And definitely not worry about material things.
Exactly.
Because they didn't have any
Exactly.
material things.
Exactly. So in this case, it's actually very good. It also depends on how good the mount of Luna is. In this case, the two mounts on the print, you can see they are very balanced. Like there's a lot of balance in there. You have the feeling that it's there and it's going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So this is what my main feature about the Dalai Lama.
Well, I think there's no other place to go now, but we need to do Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. How about could we do because since I talked about Gandhi, I would like to see
Lady Diana?
Lady Diana. Oh, Princess Diana. Okay. Okay, I love this print, and there will be another one, not a print, photo. On this one, you remember when I was showing the print of Gandhi having a very short index finger. Look at this print, and you see how long this finger is on her? It's actually very strong, as opposed to her ring finger, which is leaning against your other finger. So when I was telling you about the rules,
Mm-hmm.
you know, society, make sure that you follow the rules. Now we have the typical example.
But she didn't follow the rules.
Well, she didn't follow the rules for different reasons. She had other problems. But like for instance, the way she was eating, and like she had other problems, but she really had what it took to be a princess.
Yes.
To actually, like, even the way she dressed, you know, it was always this kind of people at a party. They will make sure everybody has a drink. They would be, you know, how she was when she did a charity work. You know, always make sure that she had something nice to say to everybody.
That's why everybody loved her so much.
Exactly. So this is really this strong finger, because she was really following the rule of society, being really gentle, making sure that, okay, maybe there was a problem with the fact that she was married to somebody who didn't love her, but the rest of her life was actually very much in line with this very strong, this is called actually the Jupiter finger.
And she took her role very seriously,
Yes,
for sure.
she did. Can we see the second one of Lady Diana, or Princess Diana, whatever we want to call her? Okay, and this one, it was taken on the day of her wedding, and I did a whole article on the thumb, the way the thumb. You see how
It's
she's
curled over?
Exactly, it's curled over. And I did an article on my website. I called it Royal Weddings, and I look at all the ladies that had their thumb curled over, as opposed to the one that were actually able to have it straight when they waved. Now the thumb is a very important part of the hand. It shows the control you have over your environment. So when you like babies, when they're born, they usually keep their thumb protected.
Mm-hmm.
But you can actually, if you tend to close your fist and hide your thumb, you can actually help yourself by putting your thumb on top of it, because this is, you're in control of your environment. The wave is, and the thumb, the way the thumb is actually the same as when you are actually hiding your thumb, when it's bent over, as opposed to having it straight. So what is interesting is, you've seen the previous picture. It was not on the wedding day. She was waving, her thumb was completely
Mm-hmm.
straight. But on the wedding day, she was totally overwhelmed by her environment. Now, if you have the opportunity to see other brides, and on my website I put all the different wedding pictures. Most of them are like that. Like Kate, completely, and Kate, same. On all the pictures, she's always having a straight thumb, but on all the wedding pictures, she's always bending a thumb.
Would that have anything to do with the wedding night fear?
I don't know if the wedding night, I think it's the whole
thing.
the whole wedding, knowing that you have millions of people looking at you. And so I did all the different weddings, and I think there were only 2 or 3 that had a straight thumb. One of them, I think, was the Queen, when she got married, Fergie, and I think Princess Margaret. And
All had straight thumbs.
yeah, and all the other ones, they had a bent thumb, and I think they were terrified.
See, if I knew we were doing this, I would have pulled out a wedding photo of me. Because now I'm thinking, was my thumb curled? Was it?
I know what you're going to do after the show.
I'm gonna be. Everyone's gonna be pulling out their wedding albums, for sure. So, to kind of wrap up the show, without naming names, can you share anything with us? Some of your past clients, or something significant? Do you have a question? Oh, my goodness! Sorry, Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. Okay, the hands of Mother Teresa. There are a few things.
Thank you, tech guy.
There are a few things. First, she has very, very flexible thumbs. Like she's holding her, like, if you look at my hands are completely straight.
Oh
but
my gosh,
she's
they're
holding
bent.
completely bent backwards, and this gives you a lot of flexibility. Anybody who is able to bend their thumb like that,
I can't do it. Not really.
So one way would be, like, first you have to check whether you can bend it, but in
You sure
in
that's
her
not
case,
an arthritic problem?
I don't think so, no. The arthritic problem would actually put the thumb inside.
Okay.
So you
If
see,
everyone's wondering why Czech guy's not chatting with you anymore, he's playing with his thumbs. Can you do it?
he's trying to be flexible.
Yeah.
So flexibility, which allowed her to be able to live anywhere to do anything. She was traveling until the end. She so flexible. She accepted anything, you know, and that's why she was able. She rebounded from any problem that she had. Another thing that I find interesting also is this picture was taken towards the end. She was already very, very old, and you still see that this part, a lot of the time old people, because this part actually shows it is where the heart, where the lifeline is, so it shows you vitality. And a lot of older people, usually this starts to shrink, because of course they have less and less vitality. So when I take hands of people who are over 70 or 80, a lot of the time this is actually much more shriveled. But you see there, she has this, it's not shriveled at all.
No.
So she kept the vitality almost to the end.
Amazing woman.
Yeah. Yeah, you see this a little bit. Always a very flexible thumb.
Please, no pictures.
Oh, thank you for the picture, because I was able to look at her hands. And if you want more details about her and about all the prints, again, all these are on my website. I have lots of articles.
And give them your
prints.
website again.
Okay, www.palmreading, with an hyphen in between, palmreading.org.
There actually is one last question I want to ask.
Okay.
Can you palm read for animals? And we have a photo here that we're going to share.
I think
see
I
what
know.
you can tell us.
Okay. Well, I think it's like the feet. I think you can probably do it. I haven't focused. Oh, isn't this
Palmistry.
cute?
Much more interesting when you have 9 lifelines.
Exactly. Actually, I didn't check. I have 3 cats, so I didn't check their lines. I actually think that my teacher was doing some
Really?
palmistry. I think so. I am not sure, but I think I've seen this a few years ago.
And yet they don't really have lines per se, do they? It's more
Well,
pads.
You remember what I told you? It's not only the lines.
Oh.
It's a line. It's a spacing of the fingers
And the mount.
It's, the mount, exactly.
So where the pads are sectioned. And
I have 3 cats, and I'm always touching. I like their little paws, and they all feel very different. So I'm sure this already says something about their personality. You know?
we should have another show then. We should do animal readings.
Yeah.
Animal palm readings.
By then, I will have to develop a course.
Paw readings.
Paw reading, yeah. Will be my next website.
Well, you let us know when you're ready for that. We'll have you back. So I would like to say thank you so much, Frederique, for coming out and doing the actual, rolling and inking of the hands. And
Thank you for allowing me
so
to.
much fun. It was so much fun. I highly recommend this to anyone, to have your palm read, because just the whole experience was a blast. It was just great. And Frederique's the girl to go to, so check out her website. And if you're, now what would happen if they're far away? Is this something that they could...
Yes, if they're far away, I still can do, there is one which is just 3 things I would pick on their hands, or they can send me photos. I don't really like this, so I would just talk for about half an hour on the phone or on Skype or something like that.
Now,
So
can you walk them through is this something they could do themselves, though, if you really wanted the ink rollered print?
I've tried to do that. I have... It was not
Doesn't work
because
too well.
it's
You have a definite
because you need a
technique.
specific ink,
Mm-hmm.
and then you need you see the way you're pressing, and so I
Yes.
wouldn't really recommend it. But from photos, and again on my website, there are different ways that you can have your hands read, and if you are living too far away to actually come and see me in my house and have your hands get all black, you can send me photos, and I'm actually explaining how to take photos, so that of course
It's an easier process for them.
I wouldn't be able to see as much as but for instance the spacing, I can see it. I can see, of course, the lines, and we could go from there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And next week we have Alison Price coming back from Starsology, and she is doing the Age of Aquarius. So please tune in 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you then. And for all the Irish friends out there, and you know who you are, top of the morning to you, and have a great St. Patrick's Day. Bye.
Bye-bye.